Hello and welcome to our Wednesday home care agency blueprint, about 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. I am here with you live or replay, and we are talking about steps, things that you can do or should be doing, or maybe you're wondering about doing to help move your home care agency forward, okay, or get it started, right? So my name is Bethany, and I've been a home care agency owner now for the past 13 years, and I really love this space and being here and helping fellow owners start their home care agency or streamline it with systems and organization, or even moving it to the next step, right? So the next steps could be looking like licensing, getting your policies and procedures in place so that you can do that, right? So today, what I want to talk to you about is if you get your LLC and you got that checked off, then what? Like, what happens next? And I do want to take a moment and just say, if you got your LLC, like, good for you. That's a huge step, right? So take time, take moments, and just celebrate those things that you accomplish, because you should really take the time to celebrate all the small wins. They all add up and it's all moving you forward, which we absolutely love. So I'm actually going to be speaking from my checklist, my startup checklist. If you don't have this, go to BethanyRatcliffe.com/hub, HUB. You will find in there the checklist. There's also a masterclass video that you can watch on that page. Okay, so chances are, if you already have your LLC, you have researched your state requirements as well. Your state rules, regulations, requirements around home care agencies. There are 11 states out of the 50 states that are not regulated. You do not need to have a license, certification, or registration to operate. You simply need to have a business license, your LLC, and be set up. Usually it's with your Secretary of State, but there's only 11 states. So then there's a whole other 39 that do require you to do a little bit of work to get licensed. And I would have to imagine that sooner rather than later, all 50 states are going to have some regulation around licensing. That's just the direction that we're moving in, especially for our waiver states, our Medicaid contracts. There's a lot of streamlining going on with them and various requirements that we're just seeing across the board. So I would have to imagine that will happen, but for today, that's not the case. So if you need to figure that out, you need to figure out what your state requirements are. Hopefully you've done that. Then you get your LLC. Okay. So now what? Now what do you do, right? Well, the next step I would recommend would be to get your EIN, and that's your Employer Identification Number. You can go to irs.gov and you can get that set up. What this allows you to do is it allows you to hire people, allows you to hire caregivers to start providing care to people in your community, right? So those clients of yours that you have and you need to have a caregiver, you would need your Employer Identification Number in order to properly set that up. So that'll be the next step. And that's something that you can literally do right online within a day, is get your EIN number. It's really simple. Another thing that you're going to want to do, if you haven't done so already, is connecting with your local insurance company for quotes on business liability, professional, and if needed, workman's comp. why I put in there if needed is if you're in a non-regulated state and you're going to hire subcontractors to be your caregivers, then you wouldn't need workman's comp. Those would be your 1099 contractors, that you would give them a 1099 form, and so you would not need a workman's comp. I do want to share something, but I don't want to murk the waters in any way, shape, or form. But I'm in the state of Maine. I have a licensed home care agency, as I should, because I contract with Medicaid. I have to, actually. I contract with Medicaid. I contract with the VA. I contract with long-term care insurances and other state programs that are federally funded through Medicare. I don't bill Medicare directly because I'm non-medical, but those entities within the state, they have the contract for the program with Medicare, and so then I bill them and they do something with Medicare. I don't know anything about what they do, but anyway. So that's what my state is regulated. I'm supposed to do that. Now, I know of other agencies locally who have been in business. Well, gosh, I worked for them when I was in my early 20s. So well over 20 years ago, well, about 20 years ago, I worked for this company, and she is not licensed, the owner of this company. She only does private pay, and she's like, yeah, I'm not going to be licensed. I have an LLC. I have my business license, but I will never, ever be licensed with the state because I don't want to go through all that red tape with them. I have no interest in contracting with Medicaid or VA or long-term care insurances. And so all of her employees are all 1099 employees. And she only has private pay clients. Now, she does very well in this space, and I think she charges like $35 an hour now. But it's always been interesting to me that in a regulated state, she can fly under the radar completely, and it's okay. I don't know. I'm not saying it's right or it's wrong. I'm just sharing information with you because I know a lot of people, a lot of you who get started in a regulated state, you might be starting in that same capacity, but realizing you want more. You want to level up your agency. You want to have that Medicaid contract. You want to have that VA relationship. You want to have that licensure so that when your client comes to you and they're like, I have long-term care insurance. And you're like, yeah, I can bill them because I'm licensed. And they're like, okay, but when that runs out and when my money runs down, I'm going to have to tap into a Medicaid program. Yeah, no problem, because I'm licensed and I can do that. Right? So I guess what I'm trying to say is that there are some variances in how you can set up your business according to your state. And then also, when you're just starting, you may just be starting in that capacity, like I described, that this woman's been operating out of for over 20 years now, of just seeing private pay, just having a business license, and it's okay. In my state, apparently, that's regulated. It flies under the radar. So I'm just sharing all this information, not to tell you what to do, not to do, but just giving you the information. So planting some seeds along the way, and different possibilities of things. Okay, so definitely check in about your insurance. Get your quotes so you know what that all entails, right? Because you do want to be insured. Even if you are only going to see private pay clients, you absolutely want to have insurance. They're going to want to see that as well to protect them, their home, assets, anything, right? Okay. You also need to, after you get your LLC, you need to decide where your office is going to be. Is it going to be a home office? Is it going to be a space in your community that you rent? Some people do it, you know, depending on where you are and how expensive office space is. Some people choose to do a home office. Some states that's not allowed. Doesn't fly. Like I'm helping somebody right now with their licensure in Virginia, and part of that application process is in Virginia, they want to see that you have to submit your lease agreement with the application. So the address of your office in the lease agreement. Sometimes what people do who have to have an office space and it's too expensive in their community is they look for co-shares or like co-op office space. You do have to be careful with that, where we are all really quite bound by HIPAA, right? Confidentiality, privacy practices. So you do have to be careful if you are going to venture into anything like that. Typically, protection with that would be a filing cabinet with a lock on it. If you're going to do a co-share space, typically if you're going to be doing interviews, things of that nature, there would be a conference room that you can sign up to use, so you're at least behind a closed door. If all the shared office spaces are out like in one big room, hopefully that there's something like that. So you'll have to really, if you're going to do that, dig in and make sure that you're covering yourself as far as confidentiality goes. For me, the state of Maine doesn't require us to have a commercial office space right now. We used to have a huge office. It was amazing and I loved it so much. But 2020 happened and we all dispersed to our home offices until further notice. The lease came up for renewal. It was still uncertain times, and we were just like, we need to protect our clients and our staff and our agency and not be spending thousands, $1,000 a month on an office space that none of us are using. So we ended our lease, and that was really hard. But that happens in business, the ups and the downs. Ultimately, though, what we learned from all of that is we can work from a home office setting, and all of my administrative staff are wildly happy about this. They love that they don't have to commute. They love that, they can be like a little bit more casual at home. They love that they don't have to spend a lot of money on office clothes. There's a lot of benefits to it, I will say that. And I did make sure, though, that all my admin staff, they have HIPAA compliant office space in order to do this. That was the only way I would allow it. So they all have a separate office space that has a lock on the door, filing cabinets, locks, all the things, right? And then I do have what I call a satellite office. So actually attached to my human resources, their home, they had an attached office with a separate entrance. Nobody goes through the home, nothing like that. So this is a very unique situation. But it's very cool. So we have that for interviews, for reviews. If clients and their families need to meet for whatever reason, we have that space. Nobody works out of it, but it is a really beautiful space that we have. And when the state does want to see that we have posted like our hours of operation, and they want to see our filing cabinets locked, and they want to see that we have up on the wall everything that we need to for having employees, like all their rights and minimum wage posters, things of that nature. We have it all there. It's all set up there. We just choose to work out of our own home offices, but then we have that one space where everything can happen, and yeah, it works for us. So lots of ideas coming out here. I didn't expect all this, and I didn't expect all these stories interwoven into this. Let me know if you enjoy this and if it's helpful. Okay, so after you've gotten your LLC, you've figured out your insurances, right? You've looked at that. You have, at this point, you've already, like we talked about, decided if you're, figured out if you're in a regulated state or non-regulated state, because that determines if you're going to be moving on for licensure and all of those things, right? Too, if you're going to be going down that path and applying for licensure or not, right? Then once you figure out your office space and once you're all ready to go, if you've got your license or don't have your license, don't need a license, going to be doing just private pay, or in some of our non-regulated states, you can still contract with Medicaid, right? So it's kind of figuring out that next piece, depending on your state too. Like that's like right beside it. Like I've got my LLC. Okay, wait, am I regulated, non-regulated? What do I do next? And then all these other pieces, insurance, office, they all kind of fall into place. You're going to develop your hiring packet and your protocols, your employee orientation packet and protocols, your client intake packet and protocols. Like that's a lot of work. It's a lot of creation. You want to make sure that you have everything. You don't want to leave anything out, but that is also how you learn. So if there is something that you miss in any of those packets or any of those processes, you'll learn, you'll figure it out, because something will happen. And then you'll be like, oh, I should have had that in place. Oh, I should have put that there. Yeah, that's how we live and learn. So that's how definitely we live and learn as business owners. Bit of a fun piece of the checklist is creating your logo, your business cards, and your brochures. So those are definitely a necessity. I'm like, business cards, do people still use those? But they do, and definitely the population that we serve, elderly folks, they love a business card. They think, like that's their thing. So, and not only that, but I actually was just a routine state audit. They wanted to see my business card. I'm like, okay, guys. All right. So, and then from there, it's just developing your marketing plan and just going for it, right? Going for it. So all of those things that I shared with you may seem like a little overwhelming. Take it one step at a time. If you are needing assistance, if you find that you are with any of the pieces, I would definitely invite you to check out the Home Care Startup Academy that I created. I have a self-study option that you can go through and grab all the different things that you need. You'd be able to make your orientation packet, your employee intake packet, your client intake packet, all your hiring, all your things are there, your application, everything is there. I also have a live instructor option within the academy, and that next session of that will be starting the end of February or beginning of March. I gotta look at my dates for that, but that is more involved. That has everything in the self-study, except for it also includes 10 master classes and then live coaching every single week, so that way there can really dig in and with what you're needing, and we go to work and just get it all moving for you. So we have a lot of fun in there, and I love hearing about the progress, seeing the progress, and moving everything just forward, because this is, if having a home care agency is on your mind and on your heart, then doing it, working it is like so important because of not only what it will provide you, the business owner, right? I mean, those benefits are huge, but the huge ripple effect and impact you're having in your community is something that is almost indescribable, and it is just so needed. It's so needed. The need for home care, so huge. So any questions about any of this, feel free to put them below or reach out to me, and I will see you next week. Take